Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Oh my God.
Wait, Cody, go, run, run. Whoa.
Hey, stop. Okay. Stop, folks. Stop. Where is he? Amy, go.
And I would just think back to last summer in Butler, Pennsylvania, when then candidate Trump was shot and almost killed by a would-be assassin. But it's just a tough thing to do, and people really have to evaluate what type of risk they want to expose themselves to these days.
An FBI insider has finally broken his silence, and what he revealed about Charlie Kirk's death is darker than anyone imagined.
Oh my gosh!
For days, the nation believed the story was simple. A lone gunman, one shot, a tragic ending. But according to a veteran federal agent with direct knowledge of the case, there is far more to the story. Hidden warnings, ignored threats, and a security breakdown that may have sealed Kirk's fate before the first bullet was even fired. This revelation doesn't just deepen the mystery. It raises chilling questions about whether Charlie Kirk's death could have been prevented, and who might not want the public to know the full truth. The final morning. It began like any other day of the tour. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk woke up in his hotel room in Provo, Utah. Staffers say he seemed tired, slower than usual, almost dazed. He drank coffee, skipped breakfast, and told his aides, "Big day today. Let's make it count." But according to this FBI agent, behind the scenes there was already tension. The Bureau had intercepted chatter online days earlier, suggesting that Kirk's Utah event might be targeted. The agent claims that a memo had been sent to local law enforcement, warning of possible threats. Yet for reasons still unclear, the warning never translated into stronger security on the ground. The event. By noon, hundreds of students gathered in the courtyard of Utah Valley University. Kirk, under a white tent, leaned forward as he engaged challengers with his signature, "Prove Me Wrong" debate style. Videos show him animated, sharp, but also fatigued, pausing longer between answers, sipping more water than usual. And then, at 12:14 p.m., it happened. The sharp crack of a rifle echoed across campus. Charlie's body jerked, his hand flew to his neck, and he collapsed. Panic ripped through the crowd. Students screamed. Security scrambled. The event dissolved into chaos. The FBI's hidden files, a calculated hit, relaxed. The ballistic report adds weight to his claims. The shot came from nearly 200 yards away, an expert-level distance. Investigators believe the shooter had studied Kirk's routine, chosen a perfect vantage point, and struck at the exact moment his guard was down. The FBI insider says this wasn't random. This was a professional hit. The shooter knew the layout, the timing, and Kirk's movements.
People running, and I'm like, it's not safe to run, it's not safe to get up, it's not. And all I'm saying is, please God, please God, please God, because I don't want to die, I don't want anybody else to die, and I think I just saw a guy die, you know? Pretty close, me and about 12 other people, and we sat there for about an hour, and we're all just crying and seeing people posting the videos on social media. It was horrifying. It was horrible.
This wasn't some unstable loner. It was planned. If true, that suggests Charlie Kirk was the victim of a targeted assassination, not a spontaneous act of violence. The cover-up question, relaxed. Why then has the public been told so little? The FBI agent suggests that higher-ups may be deliberately keeping the case vague to avoid panic. If the public knew how many warnings were ignored, the outrage would be massive. It's easier to push the lone gunman narrative than admit a systematic failure, he said. This revelation leaves more questions than answers. Who organized the hit? Was it politically motivated? And why did security forces allow so many red flags to slip through the cracks? The family's nightmare, relaxed. For Charlie's wife, Erica, None of these questions changed the reality. She lost her husband, and their 2 children lost their father. Sources say she is demanding answers privately, pressing officials for transparency. If they knew he was in danger, why didn't they protect him? She reportedly asked through tears.
Charlie was taken right away, and we were just still on the ground freaking out, not knowing what to do.
The haunting part is that she may never get a clear answer. Trump's shock. Donald Trump, one of Kirk's closest allies, was the first to break the news publicly. On Truth Social, he wrote, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is gone."
Vaughn, let me interrupt you, Vaughn, but please stay on the line. Donald Trump has just posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, the following, quote, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family."
But behind the scenes, aides say Trump was furious. He allegedly called top officials demanding to know why security wasn't tighter. "This should never have happened. They let him down," he reportedly said. So what is that truth? That Charlie Kirk may have been targeted not only by a shooter, but also by a chain of negligence, ignored warnings, and systemic failures. That the very institutions designed to protect public figures either underestimated the threat or chose to look the other way.
Go, run!
We're going to be here for a couple hours. Get comfortable.
And that means the tragedy of Charlie Kirk's last 24 hours isn't just about one man's fall. It's about what happens when warnings are silenced, when systems crack, and when truth is buried under official statements. For his family, the loss is personal and permanent. For his supporters, it's a call for justice. And for America, it's a haunting reminder. Sometimes the darkest truths are the ones we're not meant to hear. But the FBI insider didn't stop there. In fact, what he revealed next is what has truly disturbed investigators, and what could change how America remembers this tragedy forever. According to this veteran agent, internal communications show that Kirk had been on a watch list for months, not because he was dangerous, but because credible threats against him were piling up at an alarming rate. Emails between field offices reportedly outlined repeated warnings, mentions of his name in extremist chat rooms, surveillance of suspicious figures tailing his tour stops, even an alleged sighting of a man carrying what appeared to be a scoped rifle near a previous event. And yet, no heightened protection was ever granted. Kirk continued to travel with minimal security, relying on local campus police and a few private guards. The agent claims this wasn't a mistake. It was a conscious decision. He was flagged as controversial, politically sensitive, the agent says. There was hesitation to dedicate federal resources, even though the threats were clear. That hesitation may have cost Kirk his life. Meanwhile, for his family, every new revelation is a fresh wound. His wife Erica has reportedly demanded access to the FBI's files, desperate to know if her husband's assassination could have been prevented. Insiders close to the family say she is tormented by the thought that officials saw this coming and did nothing. One associate recalls Erica whispering late at night, "He wasn't just a headline. He was my children's father. How could they let this happen?" The image of his 2 young children, too small to understand what has happened, hangs over this story like a shadow. One day, they will learn the truth, that their father wasn't just taken by a gunman, but possibly by a web of negligence, ignored warnings, and a system that failed him. And then there is Donald Trump. The former president was the first to break the news publicly. But behind the scenes, sources say he was livid. Trump reportedly called senior officials within hours, demanding to know why his ally was left vulnerable. because the agent suggests that what happened to Charlie Kirk may not have been the work of a lone actor at all. He hints at the possibility of coordination, multiple individuals watching Kirk's movements, planning routes, and choosing the exact moment to strike. Ballistic analysis supports this theory. The precision of the shot, the distance, the vantage point. It all suggests a professional operation. Yet, publicly, officials continue to push the lone gunman narrative. Why? The agent offers a chilling explanation. If the public knew the full scope, panic would spread. People would question whether anyone in this country is truly safe, so we are left with questions. Who really killed Charlie Kirk? Why were so many warnings ignored? And most haunting of all, was this tragedy preventable from the start? The answers may never come, at least not officially. But thanks to this FBI insider, the world has glimpsed the dark truth. That Charlie Kirk's fall was not just the result of a single gunman's bullet, but the product of a system that either couldn't or wouldn't protect him.
On September 10, 2025, America was shaken. What was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon of spirited debate at Utah Valley University turned into a national tragedy. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk collapsed during his event, struck during what authorities now confirm was a deliberate attack. Charlie Kirk, 31, was on campus for the kickoff of his American Comeback Tour. The format was simple: open questions, open debate, prove me wrong style. Hundreds of students filled the outdoor courtyard to engage. Then, just after noon, the unthinkable happened. A sharp sound cracked through the air. In an instant, Kirk staggered, clutching his neck, and collapsed. Panic swept the audience. Students screamed, dove for cover, and rushed away from the stage. Witnesses describe it as chaos, a moment that felt surreal, like time had stopped. Within minutes, Kirk's security team and first responders were rushing him out of the courtyard. He was transported to a local hospital, but despite urgent care, his life could not be saved. By early afternoon, the story was breaking across every major network. CNN cut into programming at 2:50 p.m. Eastern. Anchors Jake Tapper and Breonna Keeler led with somber voices. "This dark era of political violence just got darker," Tapper remarked. Keeler added simply, "It's horrifying." CNN was not alone. MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, and CBS all broke in with special reports. For once, the tone across the spectrum was unified: shock, sadness, and condemnation. But facts were scarce. Officials initially said a person of interest was in custody. Some outlets reported the suspect had been caught. By evening, that detail had changed. No shooter was in custody, and the attacker was still at large. CNN updated its coverage quickly, but the back and forth created confusion and frustration among viewers. The media struggle. Here's where CNN's coverage drew both praise and criticism. On one hand, their anchors were measured, careful not to speculate. They refused to air the most graphic footage circulating online. Pushback from Kirk's allies, who saw even small descriptors as unfair. Then came the twist. Late that night, a video appeared on social media. It was shot by a UVU student named Tanner Maxwell. At first, it looked like just another chaotic crowd video. But when viewers zoomed in, they spotted something chilling. A small, dark figure sprinting across the roof of the Losi Center building, overlooking the courtyard. The Washington Post obtained and enhanced the clip. Their analysis confirmed what many suspected. Seconds after the attack, a person in dark clothing could be seen running across the roof. Soon, another angle surfaced. In that clip, filmed moments before the incident, a voice can be heard saying, "There's somebody on the roof right there." The figure appeared to have been in position, waiting. This was the breakthrough. Investigators now believed the attack had been carried out from the rooftop, with the assailant escaping immediately afterward. Dispatch audio later revealed that officers were searching for a suspect in tactical gear carrying a long firearm. CNN and other outlets quickly pivoted. No longer was the story just about chaos in the crowd or confusion over custody. Now, it was about a calculated rooftop ambush. CNN aired freeze frames of the video, circling the tiny silhouette fleeing across the roof. Their correspondents reported from the scene as police combed the Losi Center. Analysts explained what the video revealed. This was planned, premeditated, and professional. Earlier speculation, like whether a student in the crowd was responsible, evaporated. The rooftop footage changed the conversation completely. It also forced CNN to clarify its earlier reporting. There had never been a suspect securely in custody. The real perpetrator was still out there. The footage electrified public attention. It gave people something tangible, an image of the mysterious figure who had committed the act. Social media exploded with slow-motion analyses, theories, and calls for justice. Political reactions poured in. President Trump called Kirk a martyr for truth and blamed left-wing rhetoric for creating the climate of hate. Across the board, networks wrestled with the same challenge: how to cover a shocking act responsibly in real time. Social media had already broadcast the raw footage unfiltered. Traditional outlets were left balancing restraint with transparency. The rooftop footage not only reshaped coverage, it highlighted the new reality of news. Citizen videos are now central to investigations. CNN's credibility depended on quickly adapting to what the public was already seeing online. This case also forced a reflection on security. If a speaker at a university can be targeted from a nearby rooftop, how can any public figure be truly safe? Analysts debated whether events like Kirk's could continue without fortress-level protections. Most importantly, the tragedy underscored a crisis of political division. CNN's Jake Tapper said it plainly: "It's not enough to have opponents. They're treated as enemies." That culture of hostility, many fear, is leading the nation into darker territory. Charlie Kirk's life ended abruptly at 31. His family, friends, and supporters are left mourning. His critics, too, acknowledge that no political disagreement justifies violence. The footage from Utah Valley University changed everything, for investigators, for the public, and for the media. It corrected false starts, revealed the method of attack, and gave a face, however blurry, to the search for justice. CNN's coverage, like all media coverage, was not perfect. But in the end, the facts caught up. The rooftop video told the truth, and as we reflect on this story, we're left with a sobering reminder. In a democracy, ideas must be fought with ideas, never with violence. The media's role is to tell that story clearly, responsibly, and with respect for the truth. New reports are pouring in this morning with more specificity on what may be the most important clue yet: the suspect's description. According to People magazine, law enforcement dispatch audio describes the person of interest as dressed in all-black tactical gear, including a helmet, mask, tactical vest, black long gun, jeans, and aviator-style glasses. But neither was found to match the description or to have credible connection to the shooting. So while the description is more detailed, law enforcement says they're not yet ready to name someone as the shooter. Meanwhile, reports shed light on security lapses. According to AP News, there were about 3,000 people gathered for Kirk's speech. University Police Chief Jeff Long said there were 6 campus police officers at the event, plus Kirk's own security team and some plainclothes officers mingling in the crowd. Students said there was no bag check and no metal detection. Entry seemed largely unmonitored beyond crowd control. Chief Long described the situation bluntly: "You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today, we didn't." In other words, while some security was present, it appears that what mattered most, control of elevated vantage points or rooftop access, was not accounted for. Buildings on campus with rooftops overlooking speaking venues are often overlooked in event security plans. When the suspect description includes tactical gear and movement across rooftops, that becomes a glaring point of failure in planning. It's the kind of oversight that many security experts warn about after previous incidents. You must consider not just the stage and the crowd, but what rests above and around them. Governor Spencer Cox has called the shooting a political assassination and demanded that all those with celebratory messages or rhetoric that incites violence reflect on their words. President Donald Trump declared flags be flown at half-staff and condemned what he called radical rhetoric on the left. On the other side, political leaders from both parties issued statements urging calm, unity, and emphasizing that disagreements must not lead to violence. The tragedy has united many voices in an unusually bipartisan way, at least in condemnation. Public reaction has also focused on how this could have been prevented. Students who were there say they saw a lack of visible security measures that might have deterred someone from approaching rooftops or entering buildings with rooftop access. One student told Utah News Dispatch that cameras and rooftop access doors seemed neglected. areas of campus buildings rarely monitored or locked. What can be seen in the rooftop video, where clarity is limited? In many cases, surveillance images are grainy. Lighting or distance may blur small details. But even motion and shape matter. Movement immediately after the shot, fleeing across the roof, is seen. For CNN and other media outlets, these updated descriptions and security reports have forced adjustments again. Where early reports had conflicting statements about custody, now the emphasis is on matching suspect description with video. Graphic stills of the rooftop figure are now paired with audio of dispatch describing tactical gear. Aerial maps are used to show trajectories and distances, 200 yards or so between the Losi Center rooftop and the speaking area. This sharpened framing minimizes earlier ambiguity. Media commentators who had speculated a crowd area attacker are now stepping back to emphasize the rooftop theory. This kind of correction, while slower, helps realign public understanding. Whether people started watching one story and ended up with another, those visuals and details matter. The media is now reporting what's substantiated. Tactical gear, rooftop vantage, suspect escaped, no confirmed identity. Still, many critical questions remain and will likely be cornerstones of both public scrutiny and the judicial process. How did the shooter get to the rooftop? Was it maintenance access, unlocked doors, service stairs, or some other route? When did the suspect get there? Was it just before the event or earlier? Did someone see them? Were there security camera logs or badge access logs for rooftop doors? Did anyone notice odd movement before the event? Were there prior threats against Kirk or similar events that should have triggered higher security? University officials said there were no credible specific threats known beforehand. Is there more than one building vantage point? While current focus is on the Losi Center rooftop, could someone else have had another elevated sharpshooter location? What is the motive? Law enforcement has not publicly determined motive. Press conferences make clear they consider this a targeted attack. One more significant update. For viewers, what this means is the narrative has shifted. The story you thought you were seeing, crowd casualty, chaos, speculation, is being refined to tactical shooting from a distance, with probable premeditation. CNN and other outlets have had to backpedal, clarify, and highlight new evidence. That can lead to distrust, but it is also a vital part of journalistic responsibility. Justice remains uncompromised only if the investigation follows through, identifying the suspect, establishing motive, securing physical evidence, maintaining transparency. And for public discourse, this moment should be a wake-up call. How safe are our public spaces? How much do we depend on security plans, often incomplete? And how much do our leaders and institutions prepare for what ought to have been?
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what. Counting or not counting gang violence? Great. Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Oh my God. Cody, go, run, run. Oh.
You just hear the gunshot and you just see his neck just like open up and there's just like so much blood that just came out.
And we want to keep you updated on the breaking news situation out of Utah. President Trump is reporting that conservative activist Charlie Kirk has died after being shot at an event at Utah Valley University earlier today.
This is a dark moment for America, and it must stop right now.
The video begins like any other campus event. Charlie Kirk is standing under a white tent at Utah Valley University, microphone in hand, smiling as he answers a student's question. The crowd is calm, some listening intently, others recording on their phones. It feels like a routine stop on his American comeback tour, one of countless appearances he had made across the country. And then, in the blink of an eye, everything changes. The sound is faint at first, almost like a firecracker, but the reaction is immediate. Kirk's body stiffens. His hand shoots up to his neck. His expression shifts from confidence to shock in a split second. He staggers, eyes wide, and then collapses. Gasps erupt from the crowd. People scream, Some duck for cover, others rush forward, but within moments, the scene dissolves into pure chaos. That exact moment, captured on shaky phone cameras from multiple angles, has since gone viral. Millions have watched it online, replaying it frame by frame, trying to understand what happened. It is now one of the most shared and discussed videos in recent memory. The shocking final footage of Charlie Kirk's life. But what most people don't realize is that this clip is just the surface. The true story of Charlie Kirk's final hours is bigger, darker, and more shocking than those few seconds of video reveal. On the morning of September 10th, 2025, Kirk's day began like any other on tour. He was traveling with his team, scheduled to host an outdoor Q&A session at Utah Valley University. For years, Kirk had thrived on this kind of engagement. His Prove Me Wrong events were designed to challenge students directly, spark debate, and of course, generate viral moments online. He was polarizing, but he was always in control of the stage. By midday, hundreds of students had gathered. The event setup looked safe. Campus security was visible. Private guards were present, but the chaos didn't end there. Within the first hour after the shooting, police detained an elderly man who had been spotted near the event. Videos of him being handcuffed and led away by officers went viral almost instantly, with thousands claiming he was the shooter. But the truth came out later. He wasn't the attacker at all. He was quickly released, and the real shooter remained unidentified. That revelation left people stunned and terrified. How could someone fire a shot so cleanly, cause such devastation, and then disappear without a trace? Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk was fighting for his life. Inside the hospital, doctors worked frantically. Reports to the outside world were conflicting. Some outlets said he was stable. Others claimed he was undergoing emergency surgery. On social media, speculation spread like wildfire. Supporters posted prayers with the hashtag #Pray for Charlie, while critics debated what the attack meant. But behind closed doors, the reality was grim. Hours later, confirmation came, but not from the hospital, not from the police, and not from his family. It came from Donald Trump. At 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time, the former president posted on Truth Social, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. A true patriot, a fighter. God bless him and his family."
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror.
The announcement stunned the world. Millions learned of Kirk's death through Trump's post before any official press release was made. Within minutes, major outlets confirmed it. Charlie Kirk had succumbed to his injuries. He was just 31 years old.
We do have some breaking news coming into our newsroom right now. Charlie Kirk has passed away as a result of the shooting incident that occurred this afternoon in Utah.
The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Across the political spectrum, leaders who had sparred with Kirk in life now expressed sorrow in death. Republicans mourned the loss of a rising star and close Trump ally. Senator J.D. Vance and Utah Governor Spencer Cox called it a national tragedy. Democrats, often Kirk's fiercest critics, also condemned the violence. Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and Barack Obama each released statements affirming that political disagreements should never end in bloodshed. That uncertainty fueled the video's viral spread. People watched and re-watched the footage, searching for clues in the background. Was there a second shot? Was there someone running away? Could the shooter be seen in the distance? Conspiracy theories exploded online, but none offered definitive answers. What remains clear is that the footage shows Kirk's final moments alive, a chilling and unfiltered glimpse into the fragility of life in today's political climate. For his supporters, Kirk's death was a devastating blow. He had built Turning Point USA into one of the most influential youth organizations in the country. He hosted a popular podcast, appeared regularly on television, and was closely tied to conservative power brokers. Many saw him as part of the next generation of political leaders. His sudden death left a vacuum that no one was prepared for. For his family, the loss is even greater. Behind the headlines and the viral video was a husband and father. His wife, Erica, and their children now face an unimaginable grief. For them, the footage isn't a shocking clip shared online. It is the painful evidence of a life taken too soon. And yet, it is that very footage that has defined this tragedy. Unlike past assassinations or attacks where details emerged later, this time the world watched as it happened. The shaky phone recordings, the raw screams of the crowd, the sight of Kirk collapsing mid-sentence. Those images have been seared into the public consciousness. They are replayed endlessly, a haunting reminder of how suddenly everything can change. The questions remain. Who pulled the trigger? Why haven't they been caught? Was Kirk targeted specifically for his political activism, or was this something more personal? Until those answers come, the footage will continue to dominate conversation, fueling both grief and fear. Charlie Kirk's final hours are not just a story of one man's tragic end. They are a reflection of a dangerous moment in American history, when political debate can turn to deadly violence in the blink of an eye. The viral footage of his collapse has become more than just a clip. It is a symbol of fragility, division, and the uncertain road ahead. And that is why the video has gone so viral. People are not just watching the death of Charlie Kirk. They are confronting the reality that it could have been anyone, at any campus, on any day. That is what makes it so chilling. That is why millions can't look away. And that is why this moment will be remembered for years to come. Charlie Kirk's story ended in a matter of seconds, captured forever in the shocking footage of his final hours. But the ripples of that moment, the fear, the anger, the grief, the unanswered questions, are only just beginning.